Liam had studied English for years, but whenever he spoke, people immediately asked, "Are you from another country?" His accent, choice of words, and way of speaking made him stand out. He wanted to sound more natural, like a real American English speaker. One day, after an embarrassing miscommunication at work, he decided it was time for a change. He was determined to speak like a native, but he had no idea where to start. Welcome to English Tone. If you want to speak English fluently and naturally, you're in the right place. This story will show you how Liam mastered American English. Let's get started. Liam had always been proud of his ability to learn languages, but English had proven to be a different kind of challenge. He could read, write, and even understand conversations. Yet whenever he opened his mouth to speak, he felt like an outsider. Something about his speech gave him away immediately. At first, he thought it was just his accent. But then it became clear that it wasn't just pronunciation. It was everything. The way he formed sentences, the expressions he used. Even the way he hesitated when speaking, it all sounded unnatural. It wasn't the English he heard in American movies or TV shows. Working at a tech company in New York, Liam was constantly surrounded by native English speakers. His boss, Elijah, was a fast talker who seemed to use phrases that Liam had never seen in a textbook. Conversations at work were a daily struggle. One morning, Liam was reviewing an email when Elijah walked past his desk. "Liam, can you touch base with the client today?" Liam blinked. Touch base? His mind raced. He had studied English for years, but he had never heard this phrase before. Was he supposed to physically touch something? A desk? A document? A phone? He hesitated for a moment, trying to guess the meaning. Base. Like in baseball? Maybe it meant something about starting a conversation. Realizing he couldn't just stand there thinking, Liam forced himself to respond. Yeah, I'll, do that." Elijah gave him a quick nod and walked away. Liam exhaled in relief, but the anxiety didn't fade. What if he had misunderstood? What if he was supposed to do something completely different? As soon as Elijah was out of sight, Liam grabbed his phone and typed touch base meaning into Google. His eyes widened when he saw the result. Touch base. Follow up, check in, communicate. He let out a small groan. Why hadn't he learned this in his English classes? Why did Americans use such confusing expressions? This wasn't the first time Liam had struggled with an idiom. Just last week, a colleague had said, "Let's call it a day," and Liam had been completely lost. Call what a day? Did that mean they were canceling something? Was the workday over? He had awkwardly nodded, pretending to understand, and later found out that it simply meant, "Let's stop working for today." These small moments were frustrating. He understood every individual word in English, yet when people spoke naturally, he felt left out of the conversation. Later that evening, he met up with his friend Mason, who had grown up in the U.S. but spoke multiple languages fluently. If anyone could help him, it was Mason. Sitting at their usual spot in a cafe, Liam sighed, stirring his coffee absent-mindedly. "I don't get it, man. I understand English. I've studied it for years. But whenever I speak, people immediately notice that I'm not a native speaker." Mason took a sip of his iced tea, raising an eyebrow. "What makes you think that?" Liam leaned forward. "It's the way people react. The second I start talking, I can see it in their eyes. It's like a signal goes off in their head. Oh, this guy's not from here. And then there are the idioms. I just learned that touch base means follow up. How am I supposed to know that? Why don't they just say follow up instead? Mason chuckled. Because that's not how real English works. You're trying to learn English the way you'd study a school subject. But spoken English is different. It's alive. It's fast. It's full of shortcuts, expressions, and cultural habits. You don't need more grammar lessons, dude. You need to learn how Americans actually talk. Liam frowned. And how do I do that? Mason tapped his phone. Think about how you learned your native language. Did you memorize grammar rules first? No. You just listen to people speak. So start there. Listen to Americans. Watch interviews. Podcasts, talk shows, anything where people are speaking naturally. Pay attention to how they say things, not just what they say. Liam hesitated. But I already watch movies in English. Movies are scripted, Mason said. Try watching real conversations. Listen to how people actually talk in everyday life. It's way different. Liam sighed. He had spent years trying to perfect his English, but it was becoming clear that textbooks weren't enough. If he wanted to truly sound American, he needed a different approach. He took a deep breath. All right. Where do I start? Mason grinned. I've got a few ideas. Liam had no idea what was coming, but he was ready. He had taken the first step, admitting that his method wasn't working. Now, he just needed to find a way to fix it. Mason handed Liam his phone and said, Listen to how native speakers talk. Watch interviews, listen to podcasts, and repeat what you hear. Liam took the phone but hesitated. He had spent years learning English, memorizing grammar rules, and practicing textbook conversations. Yet every time he spoke, something felt off. His words were clear, but they didn't sound natural. He had no problem writing in English, but speaking was a different challenge. Mason sensed Liam's hesitation and nudged him. Look, man, the way you've been learning English is the reason you're struggling. You're still thinking in textbook English, but real conversations don't work like that. Just try this method and see what happens. Liam sighed but nodded. He opened YouTube and searched for interviews with native English speakers. The first video that popped up was an interview with a famous actor. As he pressed play, he noticed something immediately. The actor wasn't speaking in full, formal sentences. Instead of saying, I am very excited about this project, he said, I'm super excited about this project. Instead of, I do not think that is a good idea, he said. Nah, don't think that's a good idea. Liam furrowed his brows. Wait. Why do they cut words like that? Mason smirked. That's how real spoken English works. We don't talk like a textbook. We shorten words, use contractions, and link sounds. If you want to speak like an American, you gotta talk like one. Liam kept watching, this time paying attention to the way the actor's words flowed. There were no awkward pauses, no robotic pronunciation, just smooth, effortless conversation. He realized that spoken English was different from written English. That night, Liam decided to fully commit to learning how Americans actually spoke. He spent hours watching talk shows, stand-up comedy clips, and street interviews. He listened to how Americans reacted, interrupted each other, laughed, and responded with short, natural phrases. The more he listened, the more he noticed something. Americans don't just use words, They use expressions, slang, and intonation. For example, instead of, "How are you?" people casually said, "What's up?" or "How's it going?" Instead of, "Give me a second," they said, "Give me a sec." Instead of, "I am going to," they said, "I'm gonna." Liam started, pausing videos and repeating the phrases out loud. At first, it felt weird. He wasn't used to cutting words short or speaking in such a relaxed way. But the more he practiced, the more natural it became. Liam's stomach tightened. "You mean talk to actual people?" "Of course," Mason said. "Listening is great, but if you don't use it, you'll lose it." Liam hesitated. The idea of speaking to native speakers made him nervous. What if they didn't understand him? What if he made a mistake? Mason could see the doubt in his friend's eyes. "Trust me, man. You're not going to sound perfect overnight, but the only way to get better is to actually talk. Don't be afraid of mistakes." Liam took a deep breath. He had come this far. If he really wanted to speak American English, he had to push himself out of his comfort zone. Mason leaned back and crossed his arms. "All right, let's start easy. Instead of thinking too much, just respond naturally. Imagine I'm a stranger at a coffee shop. You bump into me by accident. What do you say?" Liam paused. His brain immediately tried to translate a perfect sentence, but then he stopped himself. He thought about the interviews he had watched and responded the way he had heard native speakers talk. "Oh, my bad, man," he said casually. Mason laughed. "Dude, that was perfect. No overthinking, no formal sentences, just real English. That's what I'm talking about." Liam felt a spark of confidence. For the first time, he wasn't just learning English. He was speaking it naturally. Over the next few days, Liam made it his goal to copy how Americans talked. He mimicked accents and intonation while watching interviews, used slang and casual phrases instead of formal ones, stopped translating in his head and started thinking in English. One night, while scrolling through social media, he came across a live Q&A session with a famous YouTuber. The host invited viewers to send in questions. Liam's heart pounded. Should he type a question? A moment later, the YouTuber read his question aloud. "Oh, great question, Liam. Honestly, man, my best advice is stop trying to be perfect. Just speak. Fluency isn't about knowing every rule. It's about being comfortable using the language." Liam felt a wave of realization. He had spent years trying to be perfect, afraid of making mistakes. But real Americans didn't care about perfect grammar. They just talked. The next day, Liam met Mason at a diner. As they ordered food, the waitress greeted them with, "Hey, how y'all doing?" Without thinking, Liam smiled and responded, "Doing." "Good, thanks. How about you?" The words came out naturally. No hesitation, no overthinking, just real American English. Mason raised an eyebrow. "Dude, you just spoke like a native." Liam blinked. "Wait, did I?" "You did. You didn't stop. To translate, you didn't use robotic words. That was real." Liam grinned. He was finally speaking the way he had always wanted to. But he knew there was still one more thing to work on: his pronunciation. He could use the right words, but he still didn't sound completely American. Mason smirked as if reading his mind. "All right, man. You've got the slang, the casual speech, the confidence. Now it's time to fix your pronunciation." Liam laughed. "All right, what's next?" Mason tapped the table. Get ready. We're about to train your mouth to sound American. Liam felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. He had come this far, but now it was time to take things to the next level. And for the first time, he wasn't afraid to try. Liam stood in line at the cafe, tapping his fingers against the counter as he rehearsed his order in his head. "Can I have a bottle of water?" He had said these words hundreds of times before, but every time he spoke to a native English speaker, something felt off. Either they didn't understand him, or they asked him to repeat himself. When it was finally his turn, he took a deep breath and said, "Can I have a bottle of water?" The cashier, a young woman wearing a name tag that read Jessie, furrowed her brows. "Sorry, what?" Liam's face warmed with embarrassment. He repeated, "A bottle of water." Jessie blinked. What?" Liam felt a wave of frustration wash over him. He wasn't sure if it was his pronunciation, his accent, or if the words just weren't coming out right. He had learned English in school, studied grammar, practiced vocabulary, and watched English movies. But in real life, something wasn't clicking. From the side, Mason, his co-worker and closest friend in the city, chuckled. "Dude," he said, stepping forward. "Say it like this. Bottle waiter." Liam turned to him, confused. "Bottle waiter?" That didn't sound like English. That sounded wrong. Mason grinned. "Just try it." Liam hesitated, but then turned back to Jessie and said, "Can I get a bottle, waiter?" Without a second thought, Jessie nodded and tapped something on the screen. "Got it," she said. "That'll be $3. Liam blinked. "Wait, what just happened?" He looked at Mason, stunned. "She understood me?" Mason smirked. "Yeah, because now you're speaking like an American." Liam took his change, still processing what had just happened. One small change, and suddenly he was understood. He had always been so focused on saying every word correctly that he hadn't realized that Americans didn't even pronounce words the way they were written. Exactly. You've been trying so hard to be correct that you don't sound natural. And that's why people can tell English isn't your first language. Liam ran a hand through his hair. This is crazy. I thought learning English was about perfect grammar and pronunciation. Mason shook his head. Nope. It's about communicating in a way people actually understand. Liam took a sip of his coffee and sighed. So what now? How do I fix this? Mason grinned. Practice, dude, and I have the perfect way to do it. He pulled out his phone again and opened a voice recorder app. All right, repeat after me. Hey, what's up? Liam hesitated but then said, Hey, what's up? Mason played it back. Hear that? You're still overpronouncing the T in what's. Try saying what's up. Liam tried again. What's up? Mason grinned. Better. Now, say, I'm gonna grab some food, Liam repeated. I am going to grab some food. Mason shook his head. Nope, say it like this. I'm gonna grab some food. Liam frowned but tried again. I'm gonna grab some food. Mason snapped his fingers. Boom! Now you sound American. Liam laughed. It feels weird, though, like I'm being lazy. Mason chuckled. That's the point. Americans are lazy with pronunciation. But that's what makes it sound natural. Liam leaned forward, intrigued. So if I just focus on reducing sounds, linking words, and speaking faster, I'll sound more natural? Mason nodded. Exactly. And trust me, The more you practice, the more natural it'll feel. Liam exhaled and nodded. All right, let's do this. For the next hour, Mason had Liam repeat common American phrases until his tongue felt numb. They practiced everything from ordering food to talking about daily routines. By the end of the session, Liam was exhausted but excited. He had already noticed a difference in the way his words flowed. As they left the cafe, Mason clapped him on the back. Next step. Thinking in English instead of translating. Liam froze. Wait, what? Mason smirked. Yep, you've fixed your pronunciation. Now it's time to start thinking like an American, too, Liam swallowed. How do I even do that? Mason winked. You'll see. And just like that, Liam's journey wasn't just about pronunciation anymore. It was about changing the way he thought. Liam stood in front of his bathroom mirror, practicing the simplest phrases he had learned. I cannot believe this, he muttered, then quickly corrected himself. I can't believe this. His reflection stared back, unimpressed. He tried again. It is going to be a long day. No, that wasn't right either. He shook his head and adjusted. It's gonna be a long day, he exhaled deeply. Gonna instead of going to. It felt odd on his tongue, but Mason had told him that was how Americans naturally spoke. If he wanted to sound fluent, he had to start thinking and speaking like them. The challenge wasn't just about pronunciation, it was about speed, rhythm, and confidence. He had spent years speaking English word by word, carefully constructing each sentence in his mind before letting it out. But that was the problem. Native speakers didn't think that way. They spoke in phrases, in natural patterns that flowed together. That morning, he decided to test himself. He would not translate. He would think in English first. Liam walked into the local supermarket to grab some groceries. Usually, he would plan out every interaction beforehand, but today, he challenged himself to just go with the flow. He walked up to the counter and asked, Hey, do you guys have any more apples? The cashier, a young guy with curly hair, barely, looked up as he responded, Yeah, we got some in the back. Want me to grab 'em? Liam processed his words quickly. He hadn't asked, Do you want me to grab them? He had said, Want me to grab 'em? That was exactly the kind of natural speech pattern Liam needed to pick up. He nodded and smiled. Yeah, that'd be great. Thanks. As he walked away with his apples, he realized something huge. He hadn't hesitated. He hadn't translated. He had just spoken. It was a small victory, but it felt enormous. At work, Liam sat at his desk, staring at an email draft. He was about to write, I cannot attend the meeting today, but he caught himself. He hit backspace and typed instead, I can't make it to the meeting today. It sounded more natural, more American. Encouraged by his progress, he decided to speak. Differently, too. That afternoon, his boss, Elijah, walked over to his desk. Liam, can you get this done ASAP? Normally, Liam would pause, think, and reply formally. But today, without hesitation, he said, Yeah, I got you. Elijah raised his eyebrows and smirked. Nice, man. Sounds like you're finally getting comfortable. That was it. That was the moment Liam knew he was changing. That night, Liam sat in his apartment, scrolling through YouTube videos of American comedians' talk shows and podcasts. He focused on how native speakers spoke. They didn't pronounce every word carefully. They connected words, shortened sounds, and used tons of casual phrases. Did you eat? Became did ya eat? I don't know. Became I don't know. What are you doing? Became what you doing? Liam grabbed his notebook and wrote them all down. These weren't things he had learned in school, but this was how people actually spoke. Determined to apply this, he opened his phone and sent Mason a voice message. "Hey, bro, what you up to?" Mason replied instantly. "Whoa, dude, you sounded legit just now." Liam grinned. He was getting somewhere. The real challenge came a week later. He was out for coffee with Mason when a group of native speakers started chatting nearby. Liam took a deep breath. This was it. Time to join the conversation. One of the guys, Tyler, asked, "So what do you do?" Liam opened his mouth, and instead of carefully forming a sentence, he just spoke. "I work in tech. Just trying to get through the week, you know." Tyler nodded. "Man, same here. Feels like this week's never ending." Liam laughed. It was working. He wasn't just speaking English anymore. He was speaking it naturally, as the night went on. He felt more and more confident. His words came out smoothly, without translating, without hesitation. Mason nudged him. "Dude, you did it. You don't just know English. You speak American English." Liam exhaled, feeling a new sense of confidence. But this was just the beginning. Now he had to keep it up and get even better. Liam adjusted his shirt collar as he stepped into the lively apartment. The music hummed in the background, and the warm glow of hanging lights filled the space with a casual, welcoming vibe. People were scattered across the room, talking, laughing, and sipping on drinks. The air smelled of pizza and cinnamon candles. Mason nudged him. "All right, man, this is it. Just be yourself. Speak like you've been practicing." Liam took a breath. It wasn't that he was nervous exactly, but this was the first time he would be speaking with a group of native speakers in a completely social setting. No scripts, no rehearsed work conversations, just real, raw interaction. As they walked in further, Mason was immediately greeted by a few people. A guy in a baseball cap, probably in his late 20s, smiled and held out a hand. "Hey, Mason, what's up, man? Haven't seen you in a minute." "Yo, Josh." Mason grinned, shaking his hand. "Been busy, but you know how it is." He turned to Liam. "This is my buddy, Liam." Josh looked at Liam with a friendly nod. "Hey, man, nice to meet you. You new around here?" Liam caught himself before overthinking his response. The old Liam might have hesitated, searching for the perfect sentence, but now he trusted his instincts. "Yeah, just trying to settle in," Liam replied smoothly. "Mason keeps dragging me into stuff like this." He smirked. Josh chuckled. "Oh, so you got tricked into coming? Happens to the best of us." Liam laughed. "Basically, yeah." Josh gestured to a group sitting on the couch. "Come on, we're just chillin'. Over here. You guys want to join?" Mason and Liam followed, squeezing onto the couch. A girl with long blonde hair turned toward Liam. "Wait, I don't think we've met. I'm Taylor." "Liam," he said confidently, reaching out to shake her hand. "So what do you do?" Taylor asked, sipping from her cup. Liam had been asked this question countless times before, but tonight there was no overthinking, no hesitation. "I work in tech," he said, leaning back slightly. "Just trying to get through the week, you know?" Taylor let out a laugh. "Right? I feel that." A guy across from them, wearing a hoodie, grinned. "Man, I swear, everyone in tech is just surviving." Mason jumped in. "Liam's actually got a cool job, though. He's been working on some next-level AI stuff." Liam shrugged. Hey, it's not as cool as it sounds. Mostly just staring at a screen and pretending I know what I'm doing. That got a round of laughs from the group. Josh pointed at Liam. Dude, you sound like you've been here forever. Where are you from? Liam expected this question. He could have answered it in the usual way, but instead, he leaned into his new confidence. Wherever the Wi-Fi connects, he joked. That got another laugh. He didn't just speak English anymore. He spoke it naturally, effortlessly, the way Americans did. He felt it in the way he connected with the humor, the rhythm, the casualness of it all. It wasn't just about using words. It was about understanding the culture, the way conversations flowed, the pauses, the expressions. As the night went on, Liam found himself fully engaged in conversations. They talked about everything: sports, movies, the weird weather lately. At one point, Taylor brought up a Netflix show everyone had been binge-watching. You've got to watch it, she said. It's so good, Liam responded without thinking. Oh yeah? Is it actually good, or is it just hype good? Taylor raised an eyebrow, amused. Oh, look at you, using hype good. You've been around Mason too long, Liam grinned. A few months ago, he wouldn't have dared to use a phrase like that, unsure if he was saying it correctly. Now, it just came naturally. As the night wound down, Mason leaned in. Dude, you killed it tonight. Liam exhaled, looking around at the room, feeling a deep sense of belonging. I think I finally get it, he admitted. Get what? It's not just about speaking English. It's about living it. Mason smiled. Exactly. You don't just speak English. Now, you speak American English. Liam grinned, feeling something he had never felt before. Confidence, ease, belonging. And that was just the beginning. Want to speak American English fluently like Liam? Stop studying English like a school subject. Start listening, practicing, and thinking in English. Did this story help you? Comment below, share this video, and subscribe to English Tone for more awesome stories. See you in the next one.